Okay, welcome to the Smart Couple podcast and show here on Facebook and Instagram live, where you can ask me anything and send your questions in ahead of time, ask them below, and I do my best to answer them. The way we typically structure it is I have a backlog of questions. I try to choose one or two that is pretty loud. If I get asked the same question a lot, I definitely try to make it at least into one question. And then you, in the comments, you ask sub questions about that question. So we can take it a little deeper if you want, or you can, if you relate to it because you have a personal connection to that question, then you can, ask me a clarifying question. Okay. So we've got a question here, and I'm just going to play it. This question's a voice question, so you'll have to listen up. Okay. Let's see if we can hear it.
Hi Jayson, my name's Lucine. I'm going to ask a quick question about my new relationship. We've been together 3 months and I've been on a path of self-development for many years, still learning and growing and working in the field. And my new partner is very new to inner work and just has not prioritized that. He's open and he's curious, but he's new to it all, and there's a lot of fear there for me because I'm worried as we get to know each other, his lack of self-awareness, self-understanding might create blocks, and I've let him know this, but I'm not sure whether I should just walk away now and try and find somebody that, I feel that can meet me as an equal in this area, or I, just try and accept him for how he is, or try and inspire him to deepen. What is the healthiest thing to do in the situation? Thanks.
Okay, Lucine, did you guys catch that? So she's in a relationship where it feels like she's really into self-development, growth work, and she's worried that her guy isn't as much as she is and isn't moving along in the way that she might like or prefer. Okay. Anyone relate to this? It's a pretty common one. I know some of you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, this is really common. So the first thing you want to do though is, Lucien, is try to understand if you're just afraid. Okay. Some people will find any reason that their partner is like not enough. So yeah, maybe this relationship isn't going to work out. It could be how they dress. It could be that they're into personal growth and development or not. It could be that they just have a really different value system than you. It could be the way they look, the color of their hair, their family. We tend to look for reasons to not open our heart to someone, right? That's just human beings, because we've been so hurt. So we're on the lookout a lot for anything that would keep us in our safe, protected place. Cage, if you want to call it that. So that's like a good thing to just have in your awareness, like, am I just scared? And then am I just kind of finding fault here? Okay. That's just an important part of the conversation here. And then if you, let's say this is a real thing. This is just real, that this guy is just, he's not maybe interested in therapy or coaching. He doesn't read books on personal growth. You talk to him about it and he's like, well, okay, I mean, if you want me to. So then he starts to do it for you as opposed to for himself. If he doesn't see value in growing and developing himself in the relationship area, you don't stand much of a chance down the road to have a relationship. Why? Because as I say all the time here on the podcast, you've got to be into growth and development to make it both of you. If you're not growing and learning constantly and adapting to the ever unfolding nature of relationship, it's really challenging to make it work. So if one of you is into that and the other one is not, that's also a disconnect and typically does not work. So I talk often that there's 4 pieces of gear you need to travel the world together. Okay. So Lucine, imagine you guys were traveling the world together by foot. Let's say it would take you 2 years if you walked every day, 12 hours a day, and be something like 25,000 miles. So you would need to be on the same page. a lot of the time about, hey, we're traveling the world, right? We're doing this. And when we get stuck, we figure things out and we work on stuff, right? Yeah. Imagine traveling that world together if one of you was like really had these 4 pieces of gear and was all about it, and the other person just had a measly little day pack and didn't have much gear and expected you to kind of carry the relationship for a year or 2 years walking around the earth. You're going to resent them probably 500 miles in, because you're going to have come across snakes and dragons and mountains and valleys that test you. So if you don't have gear, you're not going to make it. Okay. And one of those pieces of gear really is the map. And the map involves you've got to be into growing and developing yourself along the way on this giant journey called partnership. So I think your concern is really valid here. And I'm glad you voiced it to your guy. And, you might put a time limit on it. You might just say, look, I like to turn this one into a non-negotiable. It's not negotiable that you work on yourself. You've got to work on yourself. And I don't care how you do it, but I need to see results consistently. So if we get in a fight, I need to know 5 minutes later, 5 days later, whatever tools you used, you came around, you owned up to your shit, you took responsibility, you acknowledged the impact on me, and we had a repair and we cleaned it up. That's just what we human beings need. We're sensitive, right? It's often what some of us feel like our parents didn't do for us. We got our feelings hurt, we had a big owie, and our parents didn't come in and say, hey, you know what? I raised my voice at you. My bad. I didn't mean to scare you like that. Daddy's going to work on that. Mommy's going to work on that. A lot of us grew up with parents that were so overwhelmed, they didn't have the tools, and they just kept going, and we never really felt like we got validated. That hurts over and over and over again, and it leads to a very protected heart. So you're going to find yourself in a similar situation in an adult relationship, and you want to have some tools, both of you, and you want to be growing in a rigorous kind of way. If you want an inspired partnership, if you just want a mate and a roommate and someone to hang with or get a tax break with, different story. Okay. But if you want an inspired, fulfilling relationship where you feel nourished by the connection and you feel seen and met, then your partner's gotta be able to grow, because they won't be able to do it, right? I say this all the time. You never got the class in school on intimacy and how to do connection and conflict. So you cannot expect other people to do that unless they learn. Or when you expect it, fine, but they're not going to, they're going to fail. So it's not that intuitive, especially with your cuts and bruises from the past. Okay. All right. What else do I want to say about that? Feel free to ask clarifying questions if you want or need to. Okay, let me say one more thing on pacing, because in your question is almost this pacing question. What if we're both into growth and development, but my pace is just a lot faster? Well, again, imagine traveling the world together. If you're 500 miles ahead of me or 20 miles ahead of me and I'm back here lagging behind, who's always waiting for who? You're always waiting for me. And you either need to change your complete orientation around the pace at which you want to travel the planet, right? And get on board with the slowest person's pace, because you can't go faster than the slowest person's pace. So you need to adjust and pivot your pace to match theirs, and then reorient and go, wow, how could I see going slower as more beneficial to me? Let me think about that. And you might want to make a list of ways in which going slower could help you if you're kind of a fast-paced, hungry growth person. Otherwise, you're just not going to have a relationship. You got to slow down to meet this person's pace. The more you speed up, you'll just be waiting. It's literally like hiking. If you've been on a hike with someone who's slow, you're eager because you're feeling fired up and you're loving the nature, and you're just getting out there. And around every corner, or when this trail gets steep, you outpace the other person. And then what do you end up doing? You sit on a rock, a tree stump, or you stand there and you wait for them, right? Or you get to the top, you're like, hey, you know what? I kind of want to go at my pace. You go at yours. Cool. I'll see you at the top. And you get to the top and you're up at the top for like an hour and they haven't made it to the top. And an hour later, they make it to the top. Well, is that a relationship? What do you think? Did I get to smell the roses with my partner along the way? Or am I kind of just doing my own thing and waiting for them? Yeah. So consider that, okay? That pacing is just going to have an impact. If you're a little faster or slower than your partner, there's an impact there. And it could be really rich ground for the two of you to work on it, or it could lead to consistent frustration. But either way, you gotta work on it, or you gotta and work it out and be like, hey, do we want to keep hiking this way where I just sit and wait for you at the top? Or do I want to slow down? Or, you know what? I want to be true to myself. I want to keep going at my pace and I want to meet a better hiking partner, someone who can hang with me and keep up with me. Then great, end that relationship and go find a new one. Okay. Pacifica's got a clarifying question here. Is it a good idea to tell a prospective partner you're non-negotiable about personal development right off the bat? I'm not in the dating scene, so I don't know, what you should do, but I can say what I might do or what I've seen other people do that works, which is, within a few dates, you're laying your values, what you care about, out on the table. You're saying, this is the most important thing in my life, is growing and developing myself and learning and being a better human, being a superhuman, being more authentically me. What about you? What kind of stuff are you into? Well, I'm into the Denver Broncos. Well, I'm into, my favorite TV shows are Game of Thrones and 5 other things. And that's what you learn. It's like, okay, if I'm really into growth and development, this person wants to watch the latest episode of whatever, and that's what they do for fun in the evenings, we're probably not going to be able to have a relationship that's very satisfying to me. Do I really want to sit down every night and watch an episode of whatever with my partner? Is that me growing and developing myself? Maybe. If you're watching a show that really pushes you to grow, I guess. And then she's saying, it's not easy to find a partner that even has a similar pace as oneself. I don't necessarily agree with that. There's 7 billion people on the planet, and I guarantee you there's someone that can meet you on your pace, no matter how fast you are, and someone who's into it. And then they're going to have different issues. So no matter what, you're going to find a partner with issues that you're going to have to work out. So it could be this one, which to me could be a deal breaker, or it's another one. So we can't have a fantasy that we're going to find the perfect person with no issues and we're all synced up. No, you want enough synced up that you can travel the world together. You want enough, not everything. That leads to, wow, why did I marry myself? And here I am with myself. And we don't have anything that's different. We're all the same. Eventually that's not true. You would find that there's opposites eventually. It just happens over time. Okay. And I will validate, for some of us, it's not easy to find a partner. Yes. That takes a lot of thought and heart and relaxing and pacing and trusting. And there's so many variables to that. So I hear you about that though. Jennifer saying, right, like they may go fast in the relationship stuff too, but not be able to slow down in other places. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And remember, most of us are into growth and development in something we care about. Okay. Most of us are willing to, it could be cooking, it could be dance, it could be something, could be cars. If we really care about something and you find out what someone really cares about, you'll notice that they put some energy and attention on that area of learning. And they spend a lot of time thinking. And I use the example sometimes of sports that some people think, oh, my guy just watches sports. He's not growing. And it's like, well, I guarantee he is. If like a really big sports fan, they just spend all their growth and development energy on learning the stats of the teams and the roster and the coaches and the plays and every detail. And they're watching Sports Center. 7 days a week, and they are avid sports fan. So they're flexing their muscles, and they're way more competent in that area of life than I am. I would hang with them and feel like, God, I don't know anything. And they're like an encyclopedia on sports stuff, right? So they're working on something and they're growing somewhere. It may just not be in an area that you care about. Okay. I stand for love. What about you? Who's with me on that? Okay. Now, I'm pretty opinionated on this, that if you want to go the distance in that sports example, let's say, you have a partner that's into growth and development somewhere, but if you want to go the distance in a relationship, it needs to be personal growth and development around relationships. And that has to be a very high priority to do that. I won't go to the gym if it's like the 7th thing on my list. If I don't value and care about physical fitness or health or exercise in some way, it's going to be a consistent struggle to get in shape. I have to make it a very, very high priority. I can't use the excuse of I don't have time. We all have the same amount of time. It's not about time. It's about priorities. So you want to feel like your partner makes you a priority and makes the relationship a priority. That requires growth and development. Here's your action step. Go to jasongaddis.com/smartcouplegroup and share inside the group. Ask to join that group if you're not in it, and be in there, because that's a place where we copy your questions to our question spreadsheet, and you can ask questions in there plenty. You can tag me on it. I'll make sure my team sees that, and we start to collect those questions. Okay. All right. I look forward to seeing you next time, folks.